Welcome back, one and all. Chapter or lesson 10B, we'll call it 2 because it's the second lesson of this unit. And it's sort of chapter 10, lesson 3 in the textbook. Angle pairs and, you guessed it, equations coming at you. First, go ahead and pause, check your answers, come back in a minute. And check the backside. Of course, you're going to be asked all sorts of things. All your answers will vary here. I did not give you a chance to use a protractor. I do not have a classroom set of protractors. If you got it, great. If not, don't worry about it. Onward we go. I will use relationships between angle pairs, that's where we've been, to write equations and find missing values. Now, we've been classifying angles. We did acute, right, obtuse, straight. Yesterday, we learned vertical angles. We learned adjacent angles. Vertical means opposite, and they are congruent. Adjacent angles means right next to each other. Then we learned complementary, not complementary. Complementary means two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. And the last one we learned was supplementary. And supplementary are when two angles add up to be 180. So we're going to use all those skills in creating equations and finding missing values. Notes for today, 3 major steps to solving any problem with these kind of angles. And actually, I would argue that the title of this is backwards. We're actually going to use multi-step equations to solve for missing measurements. Now, first step to any missing value. Identify what types of angles are given. Do they give you vertical angles? Do they give you adjacent angles? Supplementary, complementary? Once you know that, you can then determine the relationship of the two angles that you have. Last, set up an equation. Now here's what I mean. No need to write these down. I have not given these in notes. If you look at these two angles, you'll immediately identify the fact that there's the right 90-degree angle symbol, and therefore the key information, these will add up to 90 degrees. Therefore, to create an equation, we're simply going to add the two angles, x plus 20 equals 90, and I'm not even going to worry you about solving those. We'll get to some examples in a minute. Now take a look at the next example. In this particular example, if you notice, we have what seems to be opposite, or I guess you could say vertical angles. Because they are vertical angles, the two quantities must be congruent. And therefore, we can write an equation, 2x plus 25 is exactly the same or equal to 50. You would use that equation, solve. I guess I could show you, why not, right? If you really care to do these on your own, but I'm going to do 8 examples coming up, so don't sweat it. In this case, we have two angles put together that make a straight angle. Therefore, these are supplementary angles. Supplementary angles, we know of a relationship whose sum is 180 degrees. So we can add up these two quantities. Whether or not you use the parentheses is up to you. 5x plus 5 plus 60 is equal to 180. And if you would care, you can pause, come back. But again, I will show you examples coming up. One more piece. Well, they don't make 90 degrees, they don't make 180 degrees, and they're not opposite of each other. Okay, well, they're right next to each other. Therefore, these angles are adjacent. Now, the key information is actually given down here. The entire angle measurement is 50 degrees. So it's going to add up. If we add 2x plus 30, it will equal 50, if you care to know the answer. But here are your notes coming at you. You are given these notes in Google Classroom, and so here we go. Let's do some more. Speaking of adjacent, 3x and 45 are adjacent, but we also see that they are complementary. That's not the best of pictures, but they do add up to make 90 degrees. So now I'm going to create an equation. If I add 3x plus 45, they will equal 90. Let's go ahead and actually solve this now. We want to get rid of that 45. That has nothing to do with the x, so let's subtract 45. Of course, be fair to both sides of the equation. When you do that, 45 and a negative 45 make 0, leaving us with only 3x on the left side and 45 on the right side. But of course, we want to know what x equals, not what 3x's are equal to. So let's go ahead and split both of these up. 3x's split up into 3 parts is a single x, not that you have to write the 1 next to it. And 45 split up into 3 parts is 15. Final answer, x is 15. Maybe I'll erase that since you got the answer down below. Onward. So notice the words that I've given you up at the top. Let's see here, example 2. Okay, adjacent, there it is again. Once again, these are complementary, and therefore these angles have a sum of 90 degrees. Now that means if we add up x plus another x minus 20, you're going to equal 90. Now again, your choice whether or not to use parentheses, because notice, if you got an x and then you got another x, why not just put those together and call it 2x's minus 20? Now we can go ahead and solve. Let's get rid of the minus 20 by adding 20 and being fair to both sides to keep this an equivalent relationship. Now minus 20 and plus 20 cancel out, leaving us with 2x is equal to 110. And of course, we don't want to know what 2x's are. So let's split up 2x into 2 parts to get a single x. Let's split up 110 into 2 parts. Notice that this quantity, x must be 55. Now, anytime you want, you can go back and substitute it in and check it out. 55 minus 20 is really 35. And what do 55 and 35 add up to? Checks. You can do the same thing over here. 3 times 15 is 45. 45 plus 45, checks. Pause if you wish. If I went too fast, rewind, rewatch. Come on back when you're ready. Onward we go, examples 3 and 4. Now what's interesting about these examples, please note that both of these, there's a supplementary angle, so the sum is 180. Here's another supplementary set whose sum is 180. So similarities, but here's the difference. Difference over here, we got 3x plus 25 plus 2x, parentheses or not, it's up to you. Equation over here, 4x plus 5 plus 41. Again, your option. So there's differences, but let's get back to those similarities, shall we? Why not just combine the 3x's and the 2x's on the same side to make 5x's plus 25? Now we go onward. Let's get rid of that 25 by subtracting. Be fair to both sides. Boom, boom. 5x is equal to 155, but of course, we want to know what a single x is. Split her up, and in this case, x is 31. Now over here, there are also like terms, but in this case, the like terms are the constant terms. Why write plus 5 and plus 41 when you could put those together and write 4x plus 46? Of course, we want to get rid of that 46. That has nothing to do with the x values, so let's go ahead and subtract 46 from both sides. Leaves us with 4x's on one side and 134 on the other. Split her up into 4 parts. Yes, folks, it's okay to have parts, 33 and a half. Now think about it. 4 sets of 33 and a half is 120, 132, 134. 134 plus 5, 139. What's 139 and another 41? Check. 180 degrees. So you can always check your solutions. Pause, rewind, copy your notes, come back when you're ready. Onward we go. I see some V's. These are vertical angles. They are opposite of each other, and as vertical angles, they are therefore congruent. So 4x minus 25 is equal to 75. Let's go ahead and solve. Add 25 to both sides. 4x equals 100. If 4 times a number equals 100, that number better be 25, right? Don't believe it? Go back, show the algebra. Split up into 4 parts on both sides. Leaves you with 1x is equal to 25. All right. Ooh, here we go again. We see some v's. We have opposite angles. Therefore, these are also vertical and therefore congruent. 7x equals 140. Oh, nice. Why do I say nice? Well, in this case, all we have to do to solve is to eliminate that coefficient. So let's divide both sides by 7, and you get 20. Pause, write down your notes. Come on back when you're ready. And onward we go, ladies and gents. Let's wrap it. Wait a second. They don't look like they make 180 degrees. They don't look like they make 90 degrees. They're not. Okay. Well, the only thing we know here is, they are adjacent angles. And we should have noticed this. Angle STV has a total measurement whose sum is 130 degrees. Therefore, let's add these up. X plus 50 is 130. Naturally, you can go ahead and subtract 50 from both sides. 50 minus 50 is 0, leaving us with x on one side and 120 on the other. Wake up, Mr. Callan. That would not be 120. That would be 80. Of course, if I accidentally made that mistake and I wrote 120 and I added 120 plus 50, I'd get 170 and I could say, wait a second, that doth not maketh senseth. Thus, make sure that you can always check your solution. Onward we go, 2 more adjacent angles. In this case, the key information, if they're right next to each other and they have a total of 60, then we're going to add them up. So x plus 38 is equal to 60. Let's go ahead and get rid of that plus 38 by subtracting 38 from 60, actually from both sides. In this case, that would leave x equals 30 and 22. We slow down a little bit. But again, you can always substitute in the number, add them up, and make sure that it works. That's what I got for you today, ladies and gents. Look for another review assignment tomorrow, bringing it all together before Thursday's quiz. Assignment number 40, you'll see that up here in the top. Have at it. See you, folks. Let's grow.